Good morning. I'm going to call to order the North Dakota Ethics Commission this Wednesday morning, February 18, 2026. And we'll note for the record that we are meeting in person at the state capitol in the Sakakawea room, but we're also on Teams. So welcome. Glad everybody could join us. I see we have people on Teams. Let us know it also for the record that all 5 commissioners are here along with our 3 staff for the North Dakota Ethics Commission. First order of business, review your agenda, please. Any additions, changes?
Chair Lindquist,
Yes.
have a few additions.
Okay.
So on item number 6, advisory opinion request, we actually recently received a second request. So there is also advisory opinion 2602. So adding that to the agenda. And then on item number 10, there were some complaints that we had to add as well for the purposes of discussion. And those are 24-017, 24-018, 24-019, 24-022, and 24-023.
Okay. Repeat them, please.
The complaint numbers just, Ron, or do you want 24-017, 24-018, 24-019, 24-022, 022, excuse me, 24-023.
All right. Anything else? Okay.
The agenda on 2 topics.
Okay.
We'll add this to the published notice to under ongoing business number 5B. Proposed travel disclosure rules. The portion of the meeting may be disclosed to the public for executive session pursuant to those 2 statutes, 4404-19.1, 4404-19.2. To allow the commission to receive attorneys' advice and guidance on the legal risks, strengths, and weaknesses of an action of the public entity regarding the travel disclosure, if held in public, would have an adverse fiscal effect on the entity. That language agenda.
Okay.
And same thing with number 8, discussion of Attorney General Letter Opinion 25L-03. This portion of the meeting may be disclosed to the public for executive session pursuant to NDC sections 4404-19.1 and 4404-19.2. The purpose of allowing the commission to receive its attorney advice and guidance on the strengths and weaknesses of an action public entity regarding Attorney General Letter Opinion 25-L-03. If held in public, would have an adverse fiscal effect.
All right. So noted. Any other comments or changes to the agenda? Right. Hearing no further comments. Approval of the meeting minutes for January 22 special meeting and January 28th regular meeting.
Madam Chair, I move to approve the minutes as presented.
I'll second.
We have a motion to approve the minutes, 2 sets of minutes. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, we'll call for the roll.
Commissioner Hubrights,
Aye. Vice Chair Goodman,
Aye.
Commissioner Sharp,
Aye.
Chair Lindquist,
Aye.
Commissioner Western.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Executive Director's Report, item 4.
Good morning, Commission members. I will start our Executive Director's Report by having Addie pull up the budget update for January. Now, Ms. Mose did distribute a revised version of this budget update just this morning. I will have her walk through this and then I will provide explanation because there have been some shifts in numbers.
So this is the budget update through the end of January 2026. Our current appropriation is sitting at 1,384,716, which you will see that includes the intern funding from OMB. Expenditures in January were 64,610, bringing our total expenditures for the biennium to 350,805, leaving a remaining budget of $1,033,911. Our projected expenditures through the end of the biennium are $1,055,573, leaving us with an estimated ending balance of negative 21,662. This number will fluctuate as we move through the biennium. Down below here, you can see that there are the professional fees and services for which was at a total of negative 25,845. You'll see here too that in January, 14,730 was paid for professional fees, and the outside counsel budget did not change from the last update that I gave.
Thank you, Addie. So just to give some context to specifically the ending balance, you'll see that is a negative substantial number of 21,000. The reason that we left this is because of the left this the way that it is the professional fees and services. So I want to direct the commission specifically to that. If you go to the second portion, Addie, can you go down to the professional fees and services? You'll see that we still have, you'll see Addie has included a little asterisk by this for 131,000. This was when the commission posted a position for a temporary attorney. This is the cost that this would have been to the commission. We have not hired that person. So this estimate, this is what has been approved by the commission, but obviously we need to change that because we are negative $21,000. We also posted that position. We have not filled that position. We've already lost several months of that, having that position on board. And so we've kind of rethought how we can do that. So if you remove that particular line item, our budget changes substantially, but we did leave it in there because that is what had been previously approved by the commission. The negative ending balance as of June 30th of 2027, if you do look at the numbers and add up what we have paid in professional fees thus far, this biennium from the September and then January, we will also have some in February because we have been using outside counsel, then that number is about equivalent. I believe it's about $1,500 difference. So as we move through the report that I have for you today from me, I will show you a second idea as to how to save money on that 131,000. Where we are in a pickle, that is not I don't know what else to call it, is that we need additional attorney support to work through complaints and to get through legal issues. We also have litigation pending, and that is expensive. And either it is using outside counsel at roughly $300 an hour or having somebody in-house. Yes, we have a very good in-house counsel, but the workload far exceeds the hours that he can work. So that is the pickle that the commission is in, and we are attempting to figure out how to do that. So as we work through, you will see a proposal for the commission that we can consider to save some of that, or more than that, actually, more than the 21,000. I'm guessing there are questions on this, though. So Ron, because of the cost, if you look at the cost, I communicated with Jill, our HR business analyst, to actually notify the candidates that did apply that we won't be hiring for the position right now. And really because if we were to bring somebody on, I have budget concerns about that. And so I feel like I'm jumping ahead a little bit in the agenda, but I will. So what the proposal is, we need additional attorney assistance. That is unquestionable. So what I call reimagined idea is that if we were to have somebody come in for a 1-year basis and have it function similar to a term law clerk, we also would be able to save just the amount of health insurance, paying it for 1 year versus 2 years. That saves us quite a bit of money. And then also we're able to not have to pay as much for that particular position if we market it that way. So did that answer your question?
Rebecca. I view this 131,000 item currently as essentially a placeholder, and I understand you're going to walk through some places where we could repurpose that funding. Is that an accurate statement?
That is accurate, yes.
Okay, I won't jump ahead in the agenda then. Thank you.
Are there any additional questions on the budget? Okay. Moving to the next item as part of the executive director's report is the case management report that we provide to the commission each month. So for the month of January, I'm also realizing now with our training that we've got on ADA compliance, we'll have to change the colors of this report. So we will do that. You will see that in the month of January, we received 3 complaints. We did not receive any quasi-judicial disclosure forms, anybody who was disclosing a potential conflict of interest or an appearance of impropriety in a quasi-judicial proceeding. We did receive 10 conflict of interest forms and 10 meeting notices. The meeting notices for the commission's information were mostly related to special session that did happen during the month of January, so we did expect that to be a little bit higher. Other complaint activity during the month of January, the commission dismissed 6 complaints, and we currently, as of January 31st, have 39 pending complaints. We did get quite a few complaints that came in the month of February. So there is technically more pending complaints, but as of the date of this report, it is 39. Also for the public and commission's information, just a breakdown on years or how many complaints in each year are still pending. And I want to provide that information to the commission. In 2023, so complaints that were filed in 2023, we still have 3 of those pending. In 2024, complaints that were filed in calendar year 2024, there are 5 complaints that are still pending from 2024. In 2025, keep in mind this is when we had legislative session. For the most part, the general counsel and myself were not working on complaints during legislative session. So we have been really focusing on trying to get those through the process. So in 2025, we have 28 pending complaints. And then those filed in 2026, we have 7. So just a breakdown, you'll see that number is obviously more than 39, and that's because of the filings or the new complaints that came in during the month of February. Any questions on those? Moving on to education and outreach update. We have not had an education and outreach update on the agenda for several months, I believe actually since maybe August of last year. But there were some opportunities presented to the commission this last month and some in the future that I want to inform the commission about. So the Bismarck Lions asked that I come speak with to their lunch meeting. By the way, Commissioner Western, you got a round of applause when I introduced you as a fellow Lion yourself. So I always enjoy going to the Lions meeting. They're very engaged. They have tons of questions. For whatever reason, the questions at that particular forum really focused on local issues. They were very concerned about conflicts of interest and self-dealing at the local level, and they wanted to know if this was something the commission, regulated or had a hand in. I obviously shared with them that they did not, that we do not. I do go to the Lions. I think this is the third time that I've presented. It is the only speaking event that I get to sing at. And so, although I have a terrible singing voice, I really love going. And I always tell them I'll gladly come back. The other one was the Bismarck Mandan League of Women Voters. They had their February meeting. Their speaker canceled last minute. And so they reached out to me and I went and spoke at the league's event. I actually ended up just talking to them in the similar context that I informed the Lions about a few days earlier. So that was a good discussion. There are two other things that I wanted to let the commission know about. Cornell Law School has reached out to the commission and has asked that I speak at the law school there in April. This is two professors who have been following the commission's work that I was unaware of. They have done a blog Substack post about us, about the commission and the attempts to improve the complaint process during last legislative session. And so they reached out and asked if I would come and give a lecture for one of their classes there, really talking about how you design actual workable ethics rules and how you maintain public trust. So I gladly said yes. This is virtual. I do not have to travel to New York, but I'm excited that they asked us to do that. The last one is the complaint rule amendments. The complaint rule amendments were approved by the commission at its last meeting. And so in order to update the stakeholders, the public on this, we will host a webinar. Logan and I have done this on several occasions before, and we will do that over the lunch hour. We do a lunch webinar. It's usually about an hour. I think one of them was an hour and 15 or an hour and 30. And we will let them know everything that has changed with the complaint rules. That same day, April 1st, new FAQs will be rolled out on our website that relate to the revised complaint process. Any questions on education and outreach?
I have two questions. You mentioned, at least at the Lions meeting, there were several questions related to the local level.
Mhm.
Just for my own information, because many of the questions I receive are regarding local level issues. I mean, did you get the feeling there was a desire to have some sort of oversight at the local level?
This is anecdotal.
Yes, yes.
Commissioner Hubrights. But the fact that the commission is only at the state level seemed to disappoint them because they see issues locally happening and they feel like they have nowhere to turn.
Thank you. And then with the webinar in April, I assume commissioners can attend?
Yes, we encourage you to attend. Yes. If you want to get continuing legal education or continuing ethics credits, we do issue certificates.
Thanks.
Madam Executive Director, I do want to commend your ability to go out on what we would call the rubber chicken circuit to be able to discuss the work of the Ethics Commission. And I think that if you are willing to share your materials and outline and so forth, I expect that all have the opportunity to do the same in the eastern part of the state. And I do think that uh, every commissioner on some level probably is expected to go out and visit with the public about the work of the commission so that we're able to continue to help the public understand how the commission does its work and what it has been doing since the public created it by vote in 2018. That's all.
Perfect. I can do that. Oh, sometimes I actually include them in the materials, the presentations. I think I've done that in the past, but I didn't this time. So, but I can. A great suggestion. Any other questions related to education and outreach? Okay. Human resources update. This is where we will get into the discussion about the temporary attorney. And you will see that what we have kind of reimagined and really where we ran into problems is a temporary attorney position. Most attorneys were okay with that. What was not appealing was the part-time nature of it. And so we did have a few applicants, but really nothing that it was ideal for them or ideal for us. And so what we really were thinking of is how do we get additional attorney time or additional attorney resources? One of the ways that we did that is by utilizing interns. We do have 2 legal interns coming to join us for the summer. So we will have 2 legal interns. That's we have not had summer legal intern positions before, so that's exciting, but we still are going to need additional help. So what we have envisioned, and I would like to get feedback from the commission on this because it is merely an idea at this point, is transitioning this temporary attorney position into a 1-year postgraduate legal research fellowship. Yes, that is a long title. I'm sure Jill will hone that. But this would be a full-time position, but it would be temporary. So many times after law school, law students participate in a 1-year or 2-year clerkship with a court. We would have it akin to that. We would have the start date align with when the North Dakota Supreme Court starts. We would also then attempt, depending on the budget, to meet or match the Supreme Court clerk's salary. And the primary focus of this position would be research to support the general counsel's work. So I also have included in the memo we've run the numbers. This will cost us approximately $31,000 less than employing a temporary part-time attorney. One, because we don't have to pay somebody in this position as much. They're right out of law school. They're getting their feet wet. And then 2, we also have less cost for health insurance that we have to pay on a monthly basis, 1 year versus 2 years. So I have in here a motion to authorize us to develop a job description, solicit applications. I'd like to have the discussion, but I would like to wait on the motion, Madam Chair, if that's okay, until we have the rest of our discussion and see what other budgetary impacts we may have in other discussions, and then come back to this motion if needed. But I would love to hear feedback if you guys think this is a good idea or if we should scratch it or what. Because we're trying to figure out ways to get more help. Ron, I don't know. I haven't been applying for jobs, so I don't particularly know. But maybe I'm gonna look to Logan. He's graduated law school sooner than or more recently than I have.
It varies by year. I don't know even a rough estimate at this point. It's been a while since did that and I applied. They also changed the date, I think, when they accept applications, so I don't really have an idea, Ron.
So I did call up to UND Law School and see what the career services. Her name is Mary Feller, I believe, Feller. Is that correct? Yeah. I'm doubting myself. And I asked her if she thought that we would get interest, and she said that she thought we would. She was concerned about timing, just the fact that the Supreme Court clerkships have already been posted and the federal clerkships are wrapping up, I believe, at the end of the month and some of those have already closed. So she said, if you want to get a good pool of applicants, the sooner the better. But she liked the idea. I also ran it by Jill, who gave it a, thumbs up as something that she can do, Jill as our HR person. But again, it comes back to the budget and whether it's a good move on the budget side.
I'll repeat. To me, it sounds like a good idea. It sounds like it's a way to save some money and a way to get Logan some help that he needs.
I agree, Ron. I think it's a real creative way to address this, and who knows? By having such a person or a clerkship or fellowship, that maybe it someday could evolve into, of course, that's another issue relative to FTEs, but yeah, but also just to have people, particularly law students, recent grads, consider ethics and work in the ethics field in that. So yeah, I think it's very creative. But you wanted us to wait, you said, Rebecca, to take any action until we continue the discussion?
I think that it would be advisable, considering some of the other agenda items that we have down the line that may have budgetary impacts, that we should at least wait until we have that discussion and see what the commission decides there before we move on this. So I will star this as we will come back to it.
I agree with Cindy. This seems like, let me restart. I think the staff needs the most experienced person they can find, and absent having another FTE, this is a good way to do that. In addition to saving us some money, depending on how we proceed here with the next items on the agenda, but I'm supportive of it. And I think it's a good idea.
Any other questions or comments? We'll circle back on that. The other thing I wanted to let the commission know about is we have hired 2 summer legal interns. They will be starting mid-May and they will be with us until mid-August. They are both very excited to come. We are excited to have them. They will be doing some good legal research for us during that time and obviously participating in our meetings, so you guys will meet them. Both of them are Bismarck natives, so that took care of the housing issue that tended to come up as well. And so this is, I think it'll be good for everybody all around. Logan will be supervising them and submitting their intern forms to the law school, which he has done plenty in the past. And so any questions on those positions? As far as the business and communications internship, we've discussed this at the previous meeting. We moved forward, we created a job description. This position was posted a week ago on Wednesday. We focused primarily marketing it to the University of Mary and BSC as local colleges. Our operations administrator, Mose, and I will conduct interviews when we are done. And I have in here that staff will apply, but Addie has already put in the application. I believe you did it yesterday, correct? For OMB to cover 50% of the salary cost of that position. And that's through the OMB's internship program, which we've taken advantage of on other occasions, both for our legislative intern last year and then also for our summer legal interns. And we did include, we anticipate getting those funds at 50%. So we did include that in the budget. If we do not get that money, which I don't see why we would not, because it was already approved. It was already approved for one of the legal interns, correct, Addie? And then we had to revise the other one because our math was not. Correct.
It was with the dates and hours.
Yes, yep. So those are pending approval. I'll let the commission know if those are not approved, but we anticipate those will be approved. Any questions on the business communication internship?
I'm gonna just mention, since you mentioned Mary and Bismarck State, United
Mm,
Tribes
yes.
Technical College, please.
They did that one as well.
Okay.
I just didn't mention it. You're right.
Thank you.
Cindy. In fact, we specifically talked about it, so. Moving on to the case management system, this is really for the new commissioners who maybe, this has been kind of floating in the air up there. This is something that Chief Information Officer Corey Mock and I have had many conversations about. We had many conversations during legislative session about managing the commission's caseload, making this easier. Right now, it requires a lot of human touches on the process. Everything Addie is going in and saving everything, or Logan is, or I, and we are, creating folders, et cetera. It is a very human-driven, non-efficient process. So during the 2025 legislative session, we did ask and receive $50,000 in funding to create a case management system. When we were in conference committee on this, $50,000 sounds like a lot. In the reality of IT projects, it's probably enough to get this off the ground. Both the conference committee as well as the commission and Chief Informationer Corey Mock, who worked with me through these discussions, really understood that $50,000 is probably to get it up and going. And then there will be an ongoing cost of maintenance. And so the conference committee was aware of that, but they wanted us to do it this way and kind of do it gradually. What I included for the commission is what we have been using as kind of this is what information we have provided to NDIT and saying, this is what we would like it to look like. New Mexico has a public portal for some of their cases, and so you can go and look at it. I've also been informed that this is the same on the confidential side. In my discussions with their executive director, we did get the quotes for how much New Mexico paid for their case portal development, but they did it right away when they started back in 2018. So obviously the costs have gone up, but we do have that information. We provided that information to the Legislative Assembly during session. So what the suggestion from NDIT has been is to use a platform called ServiceNow to create what I call a docket-like system. And I will be very honest with the commission, I need time to sit down and meet with them and give them more direction on how we need this to work. But they are evaluating right now our needs, and then they're going to present us with an option. But we are in the very early stages. This is one of those projects that we want it to be fairly done or substantially done by the time we get to legislative session. And we need to get moving on it. However, it is time intensive, and it is going to take a substantial amount of my time and some of Addie's time or the business communication internship. And right now that just is not a possibility. And so we'll continue to keep you posted, but this is near the top of my list, but unfortunately there are other things that are further on the top. Any questions on the case management system? Hopefully then you each can have a login and you can go in and review things. Like, we're hoping that this works well. The New Mexico system has been working well. Their executive director has walked me through it several times. They started at the same time. The New Mexico Ethics Commission started at the same time the North Dakota Ethics Commission started. And so they are able to provide us really like, what have they had to change? What have they had to fix along the way? And so they're good. They're a good source of information. They're also, their executive director is one of the individuals I call when I have questions because they usually have an issue before we have an issue, which is kind of nice. Any questions on that?
I just want to note for the newer commissioners that having a case management system is something the commission has discussed since the beginning. And granted, as we've evolved in 5, 6 years, we're in a different context or place in that. So hopefully we can get it moving, but as Rebecca noted, pieces of our work are very staff intense. And we just don't have enough. And then, so like, how can our exec director then move this or delegate it on to one of the interns or the clerk fellow, and that, so how do we get this done? And I'm a little concerned that we'd like to be able to say something January 27 to legislative session that, oh, here we are, here's where we're at, but I don't know, how are we going to get there? So, but it's been part of our ongoing conversation since we started. And hopefully we can get someplace. Thank you.
Moving on to the last item on my report for this meeting is the website update. As Madam Chair discussed, time-intensive things, this is going to be one of those time-intensive projects. So the state of North Dakota is currently in the process of bringing all of its websites into compliance with Title II of the Americans with Disabilities Act. This is fonts, colors, attachments. You need to have text that I'm not well versed in this, but that can read images. Each agency, the websites need to be in compliance by April 24th of 2026. That is not a long time from now. It's about 8 weeks by my calculation. Each agency is responsible for ensuring that their website is compliant. So NDIT is working with a platform called Site Improve to flag noncompliance, which is very helpful. So you can learn where and how your website is not compliant. What it does not do for you is fix it. And so that is either the agency's responsibility or some of it falls on NDIT. So I sat through a training session on this and very quickly realized that I am an attorney by trade. I am not an IT. I've never coded before in my life. Addie is also not a coder. And so what we quickly learned is that in order to really get this up, we're going to have to get the website, close to 100% compliant. It will require some staff resources. Thankfully, I was able to meet with NDIT. I believe it was early last week, I think. And they did inform me, and Addie already knew that this was happening, that our website will be getting an update in March. And it's going to have I have the term patch. I don't know what that means. They know what it means, that there's going to be a patch that is going to be fixing some of the non-compliant components of our website. So we won't have to do anything. That's really good news. However, in our discussion with the experts at NDIT, and they could go in and see the code, really what they've identified is that when our website was initially set up back in 2019, the way that it was set up was not correct, or it has flaws. And as Addie or Alicia or Holly have updated the website, we have not fixed those flaws. And the reason is because we didn't know they were flaws. It works, it looks good, it functions well for users. Where the problem is on the code on the back side. And again, as I said, neither Addie or I know how to code, although I'm really wishing that I would have learned right about now. And so NDIT, their patch will fix a significant amount of the non-compliance, but the other issues are our bubbles. I don't know how else to describe this, but our bubbles are a very big issue, and we use those on every single page of our website. And so Addie will be meeting with NDIT, and hopefully they can show her how to fix that, but it is going to require quite a few fixes on our side. And really it goes back to the way the website was initially designed and set up, and we'll have to set it up and design it differently. This is going to be a continual back and forth with NDIT. They can provide Some of that assistance free. If we want Addie to go through a training session, there will be a small cost to that, which we probably will need to do. During my meeting with NDIT, I asked very bluntly, we do not have a IT expert in our office. We have a very small office. And I said, how do other agencies handle this? And they walked me through some larger agencies and some smaller agencies. But typically, there is 1 or 2 people in each other agency that really maintain the website and have coding or IT background or have been trained in that. That is not a skill set that anybody in our office has and that we've never expected anybody to have. And so as we talk about our strategic planning come tomorrow, that is something to keep in mind, that this is something that we will likely need on an ongoing basis to maintain the compliance and to maintain that we don't go back to creating flaws that we didn't know about because we don't have the coding or IT background. So this is really letting the commission know Addie and I are going to be focusing on this before April, and it is going to take I call it a notable portion because I don't know how long it's going to take us. But NDAT did say that they will help us along the way, but we have to do the work. Questions, concerns, thoughts?
Well, comment. First, NDIT helped us set up our website. And everybody's novices, whatever. And as good as Holly is and was in getting us up and running in that. The other thing, the commission's website is 91% compliant.
Mhm.
So does everybody have to be 100%? Did they?
Chair, Madam Chair, I believe there was I think it's 96. You have to get up to 96.
Okay.
But it's one issue, but it happens like 2,000 times and it's our boxes. And
Yeah.
so if we can fix that one thing, that will take care of most of it, but it's on almost every page. So
Yeah. And as Rebecca has discussed this with me and given, again, some of this work has been ongoing all along and that, so for me, and my other list, and as we do tomorrow's planning session, is like, one of the FTEs we need is for a tech person. And yes, we're talking about a specific thing, compliance with ADA in that, but there's so many other pieces, not just maintaining the website, but how about this case management system?
mhm.
How about other way, the email, communications and our webinars and all that. And I don't know that it needs to be a full-time FTE, but probably because it seems like tech is everything. And if you don't have your own expert who knows who you are and what you are as a business or agency in that, yeah, and then they can help us. So there's that. The other comment I want to make is I didn't know about all this stuff, but UND is going through this. And the detail relative, I mean, who would have thought like fonts, colors? And so at UND, they're green, they're Kelly green. Oh, it's a big deal because every department, every program's got a different shade of that green. And it's not ADA compliant. I'm like, so it's like these details that really, but yeah. And you have to find your own people to help you make the fixes and stuff. So yeah, so much work, much work. So anyway, any other questions or comments?
Madam Chair. Rebecca, do you know if there is a penalty for non-compliance? And first question, is there a penalty for non-compliance?
Commissioner Hubrights, they have not informed us that there's a penalty for non-compliance. I'm guessing if we're non-compliant, NDIT is going to be reaching out on a regular basis. There's also there is an audit process of some sort where there is somebody who's auditing websites and will reach out.
Mhm.
So I'm guessing eventually there may be a penalty. It may not fall to us. It may fall to the state. I'm not sure. I was not going to ask that. I did not ask that question.
No.
I don't want to find out.
Oh, Thank you. The reason I ask is I used to work for a state agency and these ADA compliance updates came up 8 years ago, whenever the legislation was passed. And the agency I worked for has a robust IT staff and they were concerned with their ability to complete these updates. So, I mean, I trust the staff is going to maintain communication with NDIT. I just, there was a waiver or something to show that we're making a good faith effort to do these things. I'd be interested in that, but thank you.
Madam Chair, that concludes my report for the month.
All right, moving on to ongoing business. And the first item under ongoing business is response to the Office of Attorney General. And
Madam Chair,
yes,
I'm sorry. Did we want to return to the
Oh.
motion regarding the temp position?
Can I, Madam Chair, can I recommend that we wait until further
Okay,
through, at least until we get to the complaint discussion, Commissioner Hubrights?
sure, no problem.
so Rebecca, are you going to lead us through this discussion on the response?
I certainly can, Madam Chair. I think, do you want me to just introduce it and then if you want to take over? Talk about the, this item has been on the commission's ongoing business for quite some time. This past summer, Chair Lindquist requested a meeting with the Office of the Attorney General, specifically Attorney General Wrigley. And really the purpose of the meeting was to establish professional expectations of both our office and the Attorney General's office. And in response to that request, the Attorney General refused, did not, I don't want to characterize it anyway, but did not meet with or would not meet with the commission until it responded to several prior communications that they had sent to our office. If the commission remembers, this is prior to Commissioner Western and Hubright's time. Our former Commissioner Murray Sagsveen completed a detailed internal memo regarding those communications and interactions. It's really, I believe, as Commissioner Sharp noted at the last meeting, an internal document that we have now. But at the commission's December meeting, the commission directed that Chair Lindquist draft a letter. And so the letter we discussed that could be signed by all commissioners, but to my knowledge, I was not CC'd on the email, but there was a letter sent yesterday to the Attorney General.
Well, and this has been ongoing. So, and what prompted all this was the August 7 letter from the Attorney General directed to me after I had requested an in-person meeting because we had lost our chair. We were kind of in unusual circumstance relative to the body of the commission itself and a couple of other things or situations in that. And it's like, okay, can we just sit down and meet? And so the response was, no, he didn't want to meet until, and we responded. But because of so many things, it's like, okay, and we've had several drafts of that response since this all happened, but then we also had the turnover in members of the body and then so different versions, including new Commissioner Western gave me a draft shortly after he was onboarded to the commission and that, and all very helpful in that. And for me, at my perspective of it, it's like, okay, we got to get something done and get it out. So, but based on all those iterations, those drafts, I went ahead and cleaned it up. Logan and Rebecca helped me, and yeah, and I did direct her to send it out, and it went out yesterday morning or this morning, yesterday morning. And you were all copied in on it. I think it's pretty self-explanatory, simple. why, about the previous correspondence and that, but also that we would still like to meet. We would, can we sit down and find that common ground relative to being these government bodies and working together.
Madam Chair and members, I want to commend the chair's letter. I think it creates a needed and appropriate breath of fresh air. There can always be the desire to fixate on some perceived slight or some grievance from yesterday, but you, Madam Chair, chose not to do that. And it seems to me that it is the appropriate time, much like the wind is blowing outside, the winds of change are blowing inside the Capitol. And it seems to me that the letter creates an opportunity for a reset with the relationship between the commission and the Attorney General's office. We're both here to do a job, and the job is to do the best for the people of North Dakota. You have left that door open, Madam Chair, and I believe it's an appropriate step forward, and I commend you for it.
Well, thank you. And like I mentioned, I had help, including the draft you did, former Commissioner Murray Sagsbean's draft. We've had different iterations, but Rebecca and Logan also contributed significantly to it. And I am glad we have those drafts in that previous document on file for ourselves, because there's a lot more detail. I also want to note in my letter, it went from me as the chair and my responsibility as chair of this body, but I also believe it was with consensus, because we've had discussions, so I wasn't just doing this arbitrarily by myself, and that, and that's part of why I directed our staff to please get the draft out. Thank you. All right, I'm going to suggest that we take a 10-minute break. I have 9:58. We will reconvene at 10:10.
So you can read these, both of these requests. I included in the memo for the commission that in part 3 of the commission's policies and procedures, there is, I'll just kind of give an overview of this for the new commissioners specifically, because this is the first advisory opinion request that you guys have gotten. And so advisory opinions is a statutory authority that's granted to the commission under 546604.2. And the commission may issue advisory opinions regarding the application of Article 14 of the Constitution, state statutes related to transparency, corruption, elections, and lobbying, and ethics commission rules. Those requests have to come from a public official, a candidate for office, or a lobbyist. So how we work through advisory opinions is typically they come into the office. Addie is the first one to receive them. Then Logan and I review them. And then what we do is I, as executive director, consult with the chair. And the chair and I, typically the chair, determines whether the commission will issue an advisory opinion. The commission has 14 days to notify somebody if they are going to be issuing the advisory opinion. The reason that we created a policy with this consultation is because otherwise, in order to have the entire commission approve this, we would have to call a special meeting, because a 14-day window does not typically allow enough time The other portion of the statute that is important is that the statute allows the commission to determine whether the names of the individuals who are requesting it or the names contained within the request are open or closed records. So they are considered exempt records under North Dakota law, and that determination then is made by the commission. The commission has generally deferred to having them open in the idea of transparency. So you will see in the policy that we walk through how that happens. So Chair Lindquist and I met yesterday on these two advisory opinion requests. And Chair Lindquist decided that we will issue advisory opinions and that the names of the persons in the opinions will be an open record. Typically, when we have names or identifying information closed is when they relate to they can relate to complaints, or there is another reason to keep them closed. There was no reason here to do that. So now the letters notifying individuals have not gone out. Those will likely go out tomorrow after we wrap up our meeting. I did not get to that yesterday. And what else am I forgetting? Those will go out, and then from the date of that letter, which is well within the 14 days, then the commission has 90 days to issue an advisory opinion. How we do that is our general counsel will prepare a draft for the commission's review. Typically, the commission then meets, provides feedback, perhaps wants a different analysis or wants something done differently, and then eventually adopts or approves, I can't remember the exact language, the advisory opinion. So you can see these both relate to, one relates to an out-of-state event. We do get a lot of advisory opinion requests for out-of-state events. The rules are slightly different for out-of-state versus in-state. So that is something that we do get quite frequently. And then the other one is for an in-state event. A potential or a company is looking for guidance to make sure that they are in compliance with the rules. That is all I have on those two opinions at this time. There's no action needed at this time because Chair Lindquist already made the determination that we are going to issue advisory opinions.
Questions?
Madam Chair, with regard to advisory opinion request 26-02, as an employee of Bartlett and West, I may have a conflict of interest and therefore I will recuse myself from that matter.
So noted. Thank you.
I have a question regarding 01. What does SAP stand for?
Commissioner Goodman, it is SAP. It's not an acronym. If you go to the website, it is SAP. So unfortunately, I don't, maybe somebody else has additional information. It looks like an organization that provides education on a particular subject. But thank you.
And my I don't know if this is related to it or not, but I know that OMB got some funding for some research for a new enterprise resource plan. The current one is PeopleSoft, but SAP has their own. There are many different companies that have theirs. SAP is one that provides that large service. Very big.
Very big.
They're very big.
They're very big. The company is very big and the enterprise resource plans are very big and very all encompassing.
Okay, the reason I ask is it would be good to know if they are connected with a church or a political entity or, somebody like that, some organization like that, so that we know who we're dealing with. I'm not saying that if they are, that we wouldn't, but it may make a difference in terms of how we do the opinion. I don't know. No.
Commissioner Goodman, that's a very good question as to understanding who the individual who is asking for the opinion is, because we do have to analyze their role or what they're doing to determine whether they are quote lobbying. And so one of the things that we do is we review their website. We also reach out to the individual. We've done this on previous occasions with other events that are happening. And thankfully, I believe the individual who submitted the request will be communicative and be providing us that information. And in previous advisory opinions, I believe the commission, there were some instances where we couldn't get all of that information. So we had to issue the advisory opinion only to the extent of the information that we had available to us. I believe we've done that in one or two, one for sure. And so, that's something that Logan does frequently as he's working through these advisory opinions, is communicate with those individuals. Specifically, I can remember the trip to Israel. Logan had communications with the Israeli consulate on that.
Okay, thank you.
And the previous advisory opinions we have issued are on our website. Just for the public to know, and new commissioners, you can kind of look at them. And when I had my discussion with Rebecca, it's like, oh, they're different, but they kind of sound similar to previous requests and that. So just FYI. Okay, anything else? We'll move on the agenda to item 7, review and adoption of policies and procedures. Becca, are you gonna lead us through that one too?
I can walk. Well, the first one, Addie, I believe you have. Cindy, this is the public comment opportunity at future Ethics Commission meetings. I do want to share just an anecdotal thing with the anecdote with the commission, is that in my discussions in this last week, I do feel like I've had more discussions with the public in the last few weeks, given the educational or the outreach that we have done. One of the comments that I got is, hey, I really want to communicate more with the commission. And I loved that I was able to say, hey, we have an opportunity for you that you can do that. So with that, this is the policy regarding public comment opportunity at future Ethics Commission meetings. The commission talked about this at both the December and January meeting. The general counsel drafted a policy to facilitate the orderly public comment period. NDIT, thanks to John at NDIT, he also made a web form for individuals to notify the commission that they would like to comment. Addie, can you go ahead and pull that up, please? Once the commission adopts this, we will issue a news release alerting people to the new place on our website. I want to let the commission know this is not live yet. This is the NDIT made the form, but it is not live on our website yet, but this is what it would look like. Individuals would have to include their first name, last name, and then we recommend including either an email or phone so that we can contact somebody if they want to present something. They are allowed a space to type what topic the individual is requesting to speak about. Logan can walk you through the policy specifically and why that's important. And then we do have would you prefer to comment in person or virtually? If it is virtual, we will have to accommodate that and make sure that we have links that work, which we can do. But we have a little note there that the commission holds in-person meetings on occasion, and if it does not include a meeting room, it's going to be virtually. And then we also allow them to upload some information. It is limited. We did limit the types of documents that we can receive. They also can feel free to email us. This is a draft. If you want something changed on this, John can change that. We've gotten very good at making these web forms, and it's a very good way to communicate with people and get information from people.
Attachment 11 is the proposed policy. The commission saw this at last month's meeting, but you'll see here, and it's a little hard to see because it's in black and white in your print copy. But the changes made since that meeting are highlighted. So if you look at pre-public comment request form under B, it's added there that the commission will make every effort for an individual requesting to comment to be heard at the meeting. That was an addition. Under C, we're also going to request information on whether the individual is requesting a comment virtually or in person, which you saw on the form that has been added to the form. And under E, we also added an option for them to give us their phone number, just in case they want to provide their contact information to the commission. They'll have issues providing their comment during the meeting. And under 4, procedure for public comments, the time has been changed there to 10 minutes. They'll be allotted 10 minutes to make their comments, inclusive of questions from the commissioners and answers to those questions. And then under C, changing the allotted time on the agenda to a total of 1 hour per meeting. Any questions about the draft policy?
Madam Chair and members, I have a couple of observations to impart regarding the policy. I know it was discussed at some length during last month's regular meeting, and since between then and now, I had the privilege of watching my 15-year-old daughter speak at a school board meeting, and I got to watch public comment in action. And interestingly, and some of this doesn't necessarily need to be adopted into policy, but I think it's important to think through the issues. One, the public comment portion of this particular school board meeting was public. You get 3 minutes. We're not answering questions. Now, we have decided to take a different tack with that, and I think that's fine and well. But one of the questions I ask in that respect is whether or not the commission wants to impose any kind of limit for speech making. I know the spirit of the discussion from last month was that if the commissioners want to ask questions and have a dialogue, an appropriate amount of time is needed for that. I think the question I'd ask from a policy standpoint is whether or not there ought to or ought not be any type of limit in terms of speechifying from the public comment side. I don't know that there's a right answer, but I think it's an issue to think through. The second observation I'll make that maybe doesn't necessarily need to be reduced to policy is that at this particular school board meeting, the public comment was pushed up to the beginning of the meeting so that in the event that the public commented on whatever issue, then the board may be able to react or act upon the comment from the context of the meeting, as opposed to having public comment at the tail end, perhaps registering pleasure or displeasure about a particular decision made by the board. Again, food for thought and question in terms of thinking through time. I yield.
Great points. And it's like, okay, I think I got more questions now, or, yeah. Jared?
Madam Chair, thank you. I actually have a similar comment to Commissioner Western. I have the privilege of attending a variety of board meetings across North Dakota, and I have sat on a couple of those since our last meeting. And at both of those, the public comment period was right away in the agenda. And speaking with some of the board members, they used to do it at the end of their meetings, but those meetings can vary in length, and oftentimes you would have members of the public sitting there for 3 or 4 hours waiting to make their comments. Whereas if it's at the beginning, they can make their comments immediately. And as Mark mentioned, the board can react or discuss during the meeting as well.
Yeah, I think it should be at the beginning. I think all of us at some point or another have been in meetings where you want to speak or you want to listen to somebody speak, and you've got to wait that period of time. I've been to some city council meetings where that has happened. And I don't think it's fair to the public to have them wait that long. So
The other thing about having the comments in front of the meeting rather than at the end is by the time you get to the end, the speakers might have added a lot of extra things that they want to talk about too, because they've listened to the whole meeting.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And I think that's a good suggestion. Is it, so we would change that in the draft, under section 4, procedure for public comments. Public comment agenda item will be that on the beginning or the first item on the agenda at all regular meetings.
That would be my drafting recommendation, yes. The
Okay.
first item.
Respectfully, if I may interject, Madam Chair, I would suggest to have any public comment to be after approval of agenda, so that there's at least a format of the meeting set out.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. So then how about the second section on second or item B, the timing? I think we went around last meeting and that's kind of how we got to the 10 minutes. And then we're going to limit that, that agenda item to no more than an hour. Are we still?
I personally, Madam Chair, am fine with an hour, and I'm fine with up to 10 minutes of dialogue between commission and any member of the public. I think the only issue or question I have is what consensus, if any, exists in terms of the amount of time for the comment itself from the member of the public. And, there's a tension. If somebody speaks for 3 minutes and there may not be any questions thereafter, there could be 20 different people who get to speak. Or conversely, if there's dialogue, each person, maybe there's only 6. I don't know if we're expecting bigger ratings than we're going to receive, but there's a tension between which way is the best way. And I don't know that there necessarily is a best way, as much as we do it one way. If it seems to work out, swell. And if it doesn't, let's revise.
Logan?
Going back to the agenda item that it'll be, I think my suggestion would be the third agenda item, because we always do the call to order and the agenda additions first and second, so third.
Okay. That makes sense. Any other comments?
Chair,
Yes.
Commissioner Western brought up speech making, and I guess my response to that is the same response I would bring your thoughts on splitting up that 10-minute. I think we should just see how it goes. Reserve the right to specify in
Madam Chair and Commissioners, I think the commissioners are cognizant of the issue and want to proceed in that manner. Issue with it. It's just something to be sensitive and thoughtful about as this process goes down the road. Yield.
Would somebody like to make a motion?
I move that the commission adopt the comment opportunity policy as, well, step back. Discussed a couple of changes in moving things in the agenda that rise to the level, unless it's an inherent friendly amendment, if we're going full on Robert's Rules of Order. I don't know if the chair would prefer to direct council to move comment to the third agenda. Actually read the rules, and there's nothing that says that we actually have to use Robert's Rules of Order, but Seem to.
We do, but we also want to make it, I guess, and not friendly, but we know what we know what we discussed, how we discussed it and that, and
I-
and I believe we have consensus about those changes.
I move that council revise the public comment policy to incorporate the consensus of the commission in that public comment be the third item of agenda for ethics commission meetings, and otherwise that this policy be adopted.
Second.
We have a motion. Further questions or discussion? All right, Addie, would you call the roll?
Commissioner Hubrights.
Aye.
Vice Chair Goodman,
Aye.
Commissioner Sharp,
Aye.
Chair Linquist,
Aye.
and Commissioner Western.
Aye.
All right, thank you. Moving on to item B under review and adoption of policies and procedures, discussion of infant at work policy. And Rebecca, are you gonna take us through that?
I will briefly walk through the infant at work policy that the commission is looking to adopt. So this is, as we drafted this infant at work policy, we reviewed both the OMB, or the executive branch's infant at work policy, as well as the legislative branch's infant at work policy. I didn't review the judiciaries. I know that they have one as well, but the legislative and the executive were so close, I didn't think that was necessary. And so with that, the policy that is before you is very similar to both legislative and the executive branch, with the exception of the fact that who approves the request to have an infant at work for the executive director. Instead of having the executive director make his or her own approval, we drafted that to have that request go to the chair. That would likely present a conflict of interest for the executive director to make that determination for him or herself. And so employees of the commission would submit their request and get approval from the executive director. The executive director would be from the chair. That language is consistent throughout the policy as to not create a conflict in that decision-making pyramid or tree. And there is some requirements. There are some forms that need to be filled out. Those are also used by all of the other branches. You'll see that in subsection or in section B and C. And then again in J, there will be an evaluation afterwards. The biggest thing is that employees of the Ethics Commission would be allowed to have their infant at work up to 6 months. They are responsible for providing appropriate furniture and then not to be disruptive of the work environment. Yes, I do realize that our office is quite small, but the current employees of the of the Ethics Commission have all been okay with said policy, knowing that we have space constraints. Other than that, it is fairly standard for an infant at work in the state of North Dakota or with the state government.
Why the 6-month limit?
Commissioner Goodman, so we chose the 6-month limit. That's what all of the other state agencies have, is 6 months.
Well, if we went to 1 year, they'd have to follow us, wouldn't they?
I think Commissioner Sharp wants to
I
comment.
do, I can say when some of those policies were developed a long time ago, like I know the one for the executive branch or the startup, I think people thought that after 6 months, babies start moving around. And, they get a little bit mobile and they move around. So I think that's how, whether or not, I don't know if there could be exceptions to the policy to keep them there longer or not. But I think that's why the 6 months started in the beginning.
I believe Commissioner Sharp is She's correct. There was discussion between Jill and myself about how the last few weeks, the babies do tend to move around even more during that time frame, and they are hard to, have in such a restrictive environment.
Corral.
Yeah.
And then there should be an indication in here that the commissioners have the right to hold the baby.
They
sign a waiver.
Yeah.
And not, they shouldn't be sick.
We, Commissioner Goodman, we do have that infants cannot come to the office while ill. Is that what you refer, or are you referring to the
Talking about
commissioners being sick while holding the
commissioners.
babies?
Commissioners
Yes.
being sick. Mary, you getting all this?
Madam Chair, I would make a motion to approve this infant at work policy for the Ethics Commission.
We have a motion
I'll second.
and a second. Further discussion or questions? Hearing none, Addie, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hubrights,
Aye.
Vice Chair Goodman,
Aye.
Commissioner Sharp,
Aye.
Chair Lindquist,
Aye.
and Commissioner Western.
Aye.
Okay. Motion passes. Thank you. Good work. All right. To item 8 on the agenda. Back to the. Okay. Okay, we're going to skip to item 9 on the agenda. Discussion of the lawsuit. Citizens Alliance of North Dakota 8L v. Wrigley 8L.
I'll take this one, Cindy. So, no action item requested today, just an update on where we're at with the federal litigation. On February 12th, we filed our reply brief. The plaintiffs originally filed a response to the motion to dismiss, but in federal court, that's how motions to dismiss work. You file the motion, the opposing side, in this case, the plaintiffs, Brandon Pritchard and Citizens Alliance, had a chance to respond to it. They did that. They opposed our motion to dismiss. So we worked with outside counsel, Justin and Tiffany Vinci, to file what's called a reply to their response on the motion to dismiss. Again, supporting our motion to dismiss, responding to some of the things the plaintiffs brought up in their response. But the motion is fully briefed and before the federal court now, so they will take it under advisement essentially, unless they ask for argument, which I don't anticipate. But they will take it under advisement. The plaintiffs may ask to file another response to us. You're not granted one as a matter of course, but they can ask for leave of court to file another one. They haven't done so. So as far as we're aware, it's before the court for them to rule on. And hopefully we'll have an answer soon on our motion to dismiss.
Any questions or discussion?
I will add to that, if you look at the reply brief, there is some information that would have been confidential because it relates to a complaint, but there was a waiver, an agreed waiver in the case to use that information for the purposes of litigation. So that is on record with the federal court.
Who's the presiding judge?
It's Judge Trainer.
All right.
All right. Any other questions or discussion? So do you have any idea about how long or anybody's guess?
So
Okay.
Cindy, when I worked at the federal court, we would always schedule 6 months out for dispositive motions, which a motion to dismiss is before a trial date.
Okay.
So around 6 months is the time they usually put in, but we'll see. Hopefully it's earlier.
I was just curious. Thank you. To
Could discuss complaints, Cindy, if you want.
all right, we are going to move to item 10. I don't know if I have my script, Logan. This is exec session. Regular one? I apologize. I wasn't as prepared as I try to be as your chair. But this is a lengthy thing to read, but we are on item 10, discussions of complaint numbers. Do I read them twice? Just, okay. The next item on the agenda are complaint numbers. 23-014, 24-021, 24-023, 24-032, 24-035, 25-076, 25-077, 25-078, 25-079, 25-080, 25-081, 25-082, 26-001, 26-002, 26-003, 26-004, 26-005, 26-007, 26-007, and added to this list were 24-017, 24-018, 24-019, 24-022, 24-023.
And 24-021, Cindy.
Oh, and 24-021. Okay, thank you. Now I got it. Here and after referred to as the complaints. This item must be discussed in an executive session. Legal authority for closing this portion of the meeting is North Dakota Century Code sections 54-66-12 sub 1, 54-66-12 sub 3, and 44-04-19.2 sub 1. The topic or purpose of this executive session is discussion on the complaints. Information regarding the content and parties to an Ethics Commission complaint is confidential. As a complaint must be discussed in executive session, no motion is needed to enter in executive session. The executive session will be recorded, and all members of the governing body are reminded to limit their discussion during the executive session to the announced topic. Any collective decision, collective commitment, or other final action by the governing body must occur after it reconvenes in an open meeting. The prohibition on taking final action during executive session does not apply to providing guidance or instructions to our attorney. We will now ask members of the public who are attending the meeting to leave the meeting. We anticipate adjourning the executive session at approximately 11:45 a.m. And the executive session was attended by all 5 commissioners and our 3 staff. Once an executive session, take roll. We will now move into executive session. I want to welcome back the public and apologize, but we had some serious tech issues. But we are back on the North Dakota Ethics Commission, and we are in open session, having come out of executive session. And was there a motion from executive session?
Yes, this is Commissioner Goodman. I move that we summarily dismiss case numbers. I want to call them case numbers. Case numbers 26-002, 003, 004, 005, 006, and 007. all in the year 2026 for lack of personal jurisdiction.
I will second that motion.
We have a motion on the floor. Any further discussions or questions? Hearing none, Addie, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hubrights,
Aye.
Vice Chair Goodman,
Aye.
Commissioner Sharp,
Aye.
Chair Lindquist,
Aye.
and Commissioner Western.
Aye.
All right. Now, back to our agenda for today. And I believe we're going to go back to ongoing business in item B, proposed travel disclosure rules. But I'm going to ask our attorney, Logan Carpenter, to please provide some context and explain about this morning's session.
Thanks, Cindy. So this morning, a concern was first communicated to Commissioner Sharp and then to myself that the agenda where it has the executive sessions noted that the commission may enter for agenda item 5B and 8, that it wasn't specific enough. I disagree with that concern that was communicated to us. The agenda under section 44-04-20 sub 2 of the North Dakota Century Code, in my opinion, the notice included the general subject matter of the executive sessions that were expected to be held today. With the concern in mind, though, however, we went back and reviewed our language. We updated the agenda to include more specific facts to respond to this concern, wherever it came from, to add more language to the agenda so that we can move forward with our agenda today. We've updated the proposed motion language if the commission does indeed decide to go into executive session on those two topics. So that it was the reason for the shuffling this morning. I apologize, but we just want to make sure that we're doing the best that we can with the circumstances that are presented to us and the communications we receive.
Thank you, Logan. Any questions or comments? So back up to our agenda, we are on item 5, ongoing business. Item B, proposed travel disclosure rule.
Madam Chair and members, I'm happy to make a motion in this respect, but to another for executive session, is it appropriate for the motion to be compound handled separately? I have no seek guidance.
We should handle these two separately.
Okay.
We'll have two separate records.
Which one do we want to jump over first? Okay.
We can do that.
Madam Chair, I move that the Ethics Commission move to enter executive session pursuant to North Dakota Century Code sections 44-04-19.1 and 44-04-19.2 for the purpose of attorney consultation in anticipation of reasonably predictable civil litigation or adversarial administrative proceedings related to the proposed travel disclosure rules and on the legal risks, strengths, and weaknesses of proposed actions of the commission regarding the proposed travel disclosure rules, which, if held in public, would have an adverse fiscal effect on the entity. I yield.
We have a motion. Second.
Second.
Second by Jared. Questions or further discussion?
Cindy, before we go into executive session, I guess just some public background on this issue. The commission received a memo from myself as counsel on February 13th regarding penalties and commission rules. That is an open document laying out the legal argument that the commission can indeed add penalties to rules. As you'll see, I won't go through the whole memo on the record, but the crux of it is that it's a parallel to the other constitutional entity that can make rules pursuant to the Constitution, and that's the Supreme Court. And drawing the analogy to how they do it versus how the commission could do it, if that is the course of action that the commission wants to take with its rulemaking. I provided this memo to the Office of the Attorney General in accordance with my SAG agreement. As the commission is aware, when I sent it to you, I noted that in the email. But have the legal background, I guess the purpose of the executive session and why we've discussed adding it to the agenda was to consult with myself on proposed options regarding taking action with this legal background in mind.
Thank you, Logan. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, we have a motion on the floor. Addie, please read the roll.
Commissioner Hubrights,
Aye.
Vice Chair Goodman,
Aye.
Commissioner Sharp,
Aye.
Chair Lindquist,
Aye.
and Commissioner Western.
Aye.
So the record would show that we are going into executive session at approximately 12:21 p.m. And we anticipate coming out back into open session at approximately 1 p.m. Minutes will show that the executive session is adjourned at approximately 1:05 p.m. today, 2/18/26. The public has been invited to return to the meeting. We are now back in open session. At this time, I will entertain any motions.
Chair. Madam Chair, I move that the commission direct General Counsel Carpenter to revise the Ethics Commission proposed travel disclosure rules identified as attachment 7 in our materials to reframe a section currently entitled penalty to instead be entitled quotation sanction quotation, with specific references in subsection 4 to parallel the language of North Dakota Rule of Civil Procedure 11C4, explaining the nature of a sanction and the purpose of a sanction consistent with the constitutional authority delegated to us by Section 14 of the North Dakota Constitution. I yield.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion or questions?
Cindy, I'll just add that we had a meeting with the governor's office where they raised concerns, and one addition to the edits, they had a concern that it didn't account for confidential travel details being disclosed or not disclosed to the commission. And it was our position, and I think the commission has confirmed that we don't want that information. If it's confidential information, that shouldn't be shared with our office under these rules. So I was going to add that piece into the next round of edits to ensure that it's very explicit in the rules.
Okay, thank you, clarified. All right, hearing no other questions or comments, Addie, please do the roll.
Commissioner Hubrights,
Aye.
Commissioner Sharp,
Aye.
Chair Lindquist,
Aye.
and Commissioner Western.
Aye.
Motion carries or passes. Thank you, thank you. It is now 1:10 p.m. I see we have, but we need to take at least a 20-minute lunch break. So I'm going to recess us now, and we will reconvene at 1:30 to 1:35. Thank you.
I told Leslie that it'll be a little.
Good afternoon. We are back in session for the North Dakota Ethics Commission. It's about 2 p.m. I will apologize for our delays, but kind of got backed up on our agenda and we ended up having a late lunch, of other things, but We're back in session. The next order of business is to go into executive session. The next item on the agenda are complaint numbers 25-076 through 26-001. Hereinafter referred to as the complaints. This item must be discussed in an executive session. The legal authority for closing this portion of the meeting is North Dakota Century Code Sections 54-66-12 Sub 1, 54-66-12 Sub 3, and 44-4-19.2 Sub 1. The topic or purpose of this executive session is discussion on the complaints. Information regarding the content and parties to the Ethics Commission complaint is confidential. As a complaint must be discussed in executive session, no motion is needed to enter executive session. Executive session will be recorded and all members of the governing body are reminded to limit their discussion during the session to the announced topic. Any collective decision, collective commitment, or other final action by the governing body must occur after it reconvenes in open meeting. The prohibition on taking final action during the exec session does not apply to providing guidance or instructions to our attorney. We will now ask members of the public who are attending the meeting to leave the meeting. We anticipate adjourning the executive session and reconvening and back to the open portion of the meeting at approximately 2:20 p.m., about 20 minutes. The minutes will show that the executive session began at approximately 2 p.m. and was attended by commissioners and staff. With the exception of Counsel Logan Carpenter is recusing himself. Let the record note that Commissioner Goodman has excused himself for the afternoon, but 4 remaining commissioners are present. At approximately 2:28 has been invited to return to the meeting session. And we have no motion, so we will agenda. Next item our session is item 8.
Madam Chair, for a motion. I move that the commission enter executive session pursuant to North Dakota Century Code Sections 44-04-19.1 and 44-04-19.2 for the purpose of attorney consultation regarding actions available to the commission, including litigation, relating to Attorney General Opinion 25-L-03 and on the legal risks, strengths, and weaknesses of proposed actions of the commission regarding Attorney General 5-L-03, which, if held in public, would have an adverse fiscal effect on the entity. I yield.
Have a second?
Second.
Any questions or discussion? Addie, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Hubrights. Commissioner Sharp.
Aye.
Chair Lindquist
Aye.
and Commissioner Western.
Aye.
Commission has approved a motion to enter into executive session for the purpose of attorney consultation regarding the Attorney General letter 5-L03. The legal authority for closing this portion of the meeting is North Dakota Century Code Sections 44-0-19.1 and 44-04-19.2. The exec session shall be recorded and all members of the governing body are reminded to limit their discussion during the executive session to the announced topic. Any collective decision, collective commitment, or other final action by the governing body must occur after it reconvenes an open session. Prohibition on taking final action during the executive session does not apply to providing guidance or instruction to our attorney. We now ask members of the public who are attending the meeting to leave the meeting. We anticipate adjourning executive session and reconvening to the open portion of the meeting at approximately 3:45 p.m. The minutes will show that executive session began at approximately 2:35 p.m. and was attended by Commissioner Hubricks, Commissioner Sharp, Commissioner Lindquist, Commissioner Western, and Executive Director Rebecca Binstock, Logan Carpenter, attorney, and Addie. We are now going into exec session. Minutes will show that the executive session of the North Dakota Ethics Commission was adjourned at approximately 4:10 p.m. to 18:26. The public has been invited to return to the meeting. We are now back in open session. And we have no motions from executive session. We have accomplished all our items on the agenda for today's session. So I will adjourn us for the day. And we will reconvene here tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Yes.
We're in the same room.
Thank you all so much.